I'm Toby, and hello, faithful viewers and listeners of Toby's Happy Times and Places. It's an utter pleasure to be a guest on here. I am Anthony Townsend, and what do? I do all sorts of things. I do a bit of acting. I do a bit of voice work. I do a bit of singing sometimes, some hosting, interviewing, amongst other things. So I can be found here and there doing this and that, mostly. And today I'm here about something that's definitely feels like a happy time and place for me, time in the Rani.
Right, well, oh, that was postman. Right, well, I've plenty to do today, but I'm doing this. I've got up early. Stop, I'm trying to, that's awful, isn't it? That's a real performative opening there, isn't it? Yes, I'm doing a thing. I'm doing a really important thing. What are you doing, Toby? I'm watching television, but you just made it sound like you were doing something really important. Well, my friend is poorly, and I'm doing something to help. Oh, what are you doing? You're doing running a marathon to raise money for the NHS. You're actually going to see that person, carrying goodies and comestibles and delighting them with your presence, or doing something genuinely helpful, like ferrying them about. No, I'm going to try to enjoy watching a Doctor Who story. Oh my God! I mean, Amnesty International, the SAS, they have nothing on you, Toby. Well, I'm doing. Hello, Bernard. Bernard's come and brought me a letter. I'm doing what I can. Come here, Bernard. Good boy. I'm doing what I can, which is to watch Time in the Rani and try and have a good time while doing so. Which, I mean, is kind of the point a little bit. Come on, pal. Come on. Come on. Come on. Good boy. Yeah, don't shut on the computer. Oh. You've just stopped it recording, Bernard. Right, well. Good boy, lie down. Lie down. Brief hiatus there because Bernard jumped up and pressed stop. You see, this is the sort of thing real heroes have to deal with. Bernard, I'm going to move the computer because your pause are reliability. Hello, my darling boy. Bernard says hello in a way that only dogs can by not saying anything. Anyway, I see, this is heroic. I look at the forces of evil I'm having to overcome in order to watch Time in the Rani, episode 3. Bernard, we're going to press play in 3, 2, 1. Yeah. I mean, it was a wise move, moving from the Starfield title sequence to have something more ambitious, and I think I think it's quite a long title sequence. I mean, nowadays some shows that I feel I'm sad that shows don't have title sequences, and I know Doctor Who's done it a couple of times recently. I actually thought that was quite intriguing when on Jodie Whittaker's first episode there wasn't a title sequence because it held something back for the following week. But shows do need title sequences. Yes, I remember the episode starting this way. So, Time in the Rani, of course, is sort of based on the title of Time and the Conways, a marvellous J.B. Priestley play. If you've never experienced any of J.B. Priestley's time plays, they're sort of, drawing room plays with people all being terribly polite to each other, but then they're really weird. And I think they're fabulous. I discovered them. I think, somebody was doing a production of Time in the Conways, and I fancied being in it, so I read it and went, oh, this is not what I expect. No, I must have No, it must have been earlier than that. That must have been a rereading, because I think I was younger. I think I was at college when I first met Priestley. Inspector Calls. We never studied any of it, but there was a production of Inspector Calls that went to the West End and toured, and usually had 3 very interesting actors in it. At least a couple of whom had been in Doctor Who. I remember the one and I never saw it, but I would quite often be at theatres it was in, or walk past theatres where there was a poster. And I think the triumvirate of Paul Shelley, Rula Lenska and Bernard Kay was the one I would really fancied watching. Persuasion, Inspector Crossland and Dr. Styles. I've met them all since. So yeah, I do like the viscous bloody goo. And the lighting and everything, and the smoke and the whole feel. I'm kind of digging the Tetraps, having found them somewhat cumbersome. I think as a youngster, I think the as I say, the rubbery masks are slightly. And they've got funny pot bellies, haven't they? But I actually rather like them. I think the back thing works. I think Richard Gauntlet is very good as the one who talks. It's very economical with the cast here, actually. The cast list is very small. It's a very good way of, telling a story on a limited budget, in that you don't have, you're telling it with very few characters. I do like the Lacurtian colours. Seeing as we're set in a quarry, although I don't mind Doctor Who being set in a quarry, what's so fun on earth is Sylvester McCoy doing there? It's very funny. He's high energy straight away, isn't he? So let's have a look at the lighting is so much better since the Doctor did whatever he did to since whatever plot happened to the lighting state. Yeah. No, I actually think the Tetraps are. I actually think the Tetraps are pretty good. Hair was always a problem in those days, because they always made hair look sort of nice. I mean, that monster hair now would be greasy and streaky and oily to make it seem slightly more organic. They weren't. I presume having any sort of moisture on set was problematic, not in the current sense of the word. It wasn't that it reminded people of when they stained a shirt once and just simply couldn't cope. But I know that the Destroyer has. I remember it seeming amazing, because the Destroyer had a bit of sort of watery saliva in his gob, and then you go, my God, they've done an amazing thing. They put liquid on a monster. I know a lot of Doctor Who fans who probably put liquid on a monster, but see, I'm now behaving, broadcasting in a way that has a similar tone to the talk on the WhatsApp group that is supporting our stricken pal, for whom we are doing this. Lovely, Anthony. But I suppose it's an important choice, really, for me, in the sense that I set this podcast to be positive about Doctor Who. The lights have come back on again. I think there's another instance of somebody falling down the stairs very badly. I think he's supposed to have banged his head there, which is entirely the wrong camera angle to do that. And Mel does a similar thing in Dragonfire. I suppose it's just the nature of the beast, multi-camera. I mean, he basically kicked the umbrella and leapt over it and fell down. But he's a senior gentleman dressed in green, who's not a stuntman, who had to do something Yeah, and it's those sorts of things that, you know, I think you simply wouldn't. You'd do it again. You'd do something in post, but they couldn't. You know, this is the speed at which they're doing things. But I don't mind it. There's something about the way Bonnie Langford runs that is. I mean, she even runs with a sort of choreographed energy. It's not a criticism, but it is a sort of unique thing to Bonnie Langford. You imagine she even sort of takes a drink in a way that has no wasted movement. You know what I mean? That's what it is. There's no wasted movement. Oh, that's brilliant, the way that she's picked up, and she's absolutely pro because she can dance, can't she? So none of her movement is sloppy at all. But that means, because of the sort of buoyancy of her performance, that means everything's sort of. Well, nothing's wasted. Yeah, no movement. Nothing is sloppy. But of course, that does make it look slightly theatrical. But I suppose now you just go, well, Melly is somebody who does yoga. You know, that's why her movements are so precise. She's not a song and dance woman who's been transplanted into a science fiction show. But it's amazing. Without the baggage, I think it really benefits from Bonnie Langford's energy. And maybe I've brought my own baggage to it now because I've met her and liked her, and because I don't like people being mean to or about performers who are very skilled. So I've probably got more positive baggage now. But that's the point of what this is to. Like they say, when you're old enough to play Romeo and Juliet, you're too old, and when you're young enough, you haven't got the experience to portray the necessary emotions. I always think when you're a young Doctor Who fan, you spend, because it's always has the shadow of either mockery of other people or cessation due to beastly executives or angry, newspapers who want to undermine it, because Doctor Who's always attracted the press. The acting of these two is very good, and it's almost like they're in a different show. I like the way he does this, Donald Pickering. It's almost like they've gone. We know it's a funny old thing, and there's some slightly odd dialogue, and you'll be dressed as a green lion, scaly thing, but there is a bit of acting in episode 3. Yes, I noticed Wanda has some tears in episode 2. Do I get anything? Yes, Donald, don't worry, there's some acting. And that's what I was talking about at the beginning with this. So what are you doing to help your friend, Toby? I just feel a bit like in Team America. I'm helping him with my podcasting. Oh, your podcasting's going to save the world, is it, Toby? Great shot, nice shot from above. That's the killer bees, isn't it? So yes, talking about being a young Doctor Who fan and spending so much time being angry or frustrated or worried. Any anger came from fear that the thing I loved would be taken away. So I was prone to see its shortcomings. And as I say, I do look at people on Twitter taking Doctor Who terribly seriously. Now, of course, it is serious. It's probably the most important thing that isn't a person in my life. And I've only added the caveat that isn't a person in order to appear like a functioning human being. But I've done quite well without people sometimes, and Doctor Who's always been there. So it has genuinely been, the most important thing in my life. And I've spent a lot of time being upset with it and worried about it. And I don't know if it's age or experience. I'm not going to say it's wisdom. I think social media is helping because I've just seen so many other people being unhappy and unnecessary. And the people that I'm drawn to on social media are the ones who are fun and creative. the Doctor Who is an outlet for their wit and creativity and technical skill. Some of the stuff that's done technically on the internet by Doctor Who fans for free, who aren't necessarily professionals, but they're people who are far more skilled than a lot of professionals out there. Means that, this time watching Time on the Rani, again, I wish I could watch it without having to gas on. The Rani is back into her cool, sexy space dominatrix costume. I mean, how much effort goes into making hair that big? I don't know, because hair has never been my forte. But that you've got to get up early to that sort of volume. That sort of luster to your mane, haven't you? Killer bees. Killer insects, that's it, not killer bees. Killer insects, emphasised in post-production ADR, because he didn't actually say that at the time. I like the way it was. I think Mark Greenstreet there did some of the... I'm running up the stairs, so I'm going to do the Lacurtian arm thing. And I thought I liked that, whatever that was, the thing he did with his hands to try and get his mate to Lanisha, John Siegel, to respond to him or whatever. Again, just anything to give sort of alien thought. But yes, alien physicality. But yes, Mark Greenstreet was doing the thing with his arms as he ran up the stairs, and everyone else was just running about because they didn't have a Lacurtian choreographer to... I think everyone doing it might have looked a bit odd as well. But odd is good, actually. We can do one. How do you decide how far you go with making things look alien? Because they can look daft, but as we've seen, choreography can really help. Like the choreography of the scarecrows in Human Nature, Family of Blood is a great thing to go, we're actually going to think about the movement of this. And we've seen many a sort of slow, shambling monster. But if you do too much, it can also, not because aliens wouldn't look weird and wouldn't look, perhaps even look silly to us, but because, death can look quite silly. Fights can look quite silly and awkward. But if you put a fight as silly and awkward as it might look in real life, it wouldn't look good on television. This is good. I actually like this because she's suggesting with her body that something's a bit off, and that sort of dehumanisation of Mel and the bit where she walked through. I'd actually forgotten about that bit, and I think that was really effective. And talking of body language, I do like the way that Urak moves as well. He's got a sort of feral scurrying gait that he does. And I think the upside down thing is great. I remember because Kate O'Moran hangs upside down in the last episode, doesn't she? And I think that messed with her eyes. I think her blood vessels burst in her eyes or something because she was left hanging around too long. But actually hanging upside down is not massively comfortable. Could they have had, are there more scientists, more famous scientists? Einstein is such a good look that I like the fact that Einstein is in a cupboard. I like those sorts of incongruities with Doctor Who, those sort of strange visuals of getting an iconic figure like Einstein and plonking him in a cupboard on a space planet as opposed to a normal planet. So Bear's head is all right now, but his dignity might never recover. Yes, Donald Pickering. I don't think I said last episode. I once interviewed a veteran director, and he got a poster on his wall, and he said he was a mixer, which I never quite got to the bottom of. I think it meant that he was somebody that would, like a sort of Iago who put pouring poison into the ear of the other actors. But yes, it wasn't. It wasn't a flattering report, shall we say. But of course, that's one person's experience. I know Wanda Bentham is lovely, and he was her best friend. So, you must always make your own mind up when you meet people. I sadly never had the pleasure with Donald Pickering. I think I did write to him, and I never heard back. Did I? Not sure. As I say, a friend did get his autograph for me at a theatre stage door, and my mother has disposed of it or whatever. Kate O'Mara was actually only in, as Anthony said, it was only in 8 episodes, but she made a real mark and would. I suppose the master is only Roger Delgado until you recast it and do something with it, and then other people make it their own. So, because Kate O'Mara is the only view we have of the Rani, she's definitive, but there's no way there's no way you can't have a different amoral scientist Time Lord. But I suppose the fact that she is female is now no longer the headline that it once was. Now that Time Lords can change because we've got a female master, so suddenly go, a female evil Time Lord? You go, well, yeah, we've done that already. Oh, damn. Unless she might be, maybe she could be fluid with her gender when she's regenerating, but she can't be fluid with her 80s-ness. So what actually makes the Rani distinctive is not that it's an evil time lady, it's an evil time 80s person. She must always have essence. So the next one's got a headband, sweatpants on, and does her evil to workout montages. Or something like that. Kev McCulloch does get some stick, and I think he I like the way he's holding his gun out like that. I'm going to do something with my gun. I quite like the way he fills these adventures with music because it's some actors in a quarry with blue stones. It's shot on videotape. Is quite hard to sell it as a sort of science fiction epic because of the equipment being used. So I think the music is perhaps more vital than it might be in other programs, which is why it's slightly more wall to wall. Oh yes, good stunned acting there, Sylvester McCoy, Percy James, Patrick Kentsmith. Baez is a bit. Oh no, he's going to be heroic now, isn't he? Yeah, I like the vocal sampling on the music there. Oh, is this where we get? Because we've not known what is in her big room. That's some twisted philosophy. What do we think of the Pip and Jane approach to dialogue? I have to say, as a kid, it was something I would sort of parade at school and go, well, Doctor Who has taught me words I might otherwise never use, and it's well known. I'm not the only person to have written or podcasted or whatever on it about how the target books would increase our vocabulary. So therefore, Doctor Who is worthy and it is educational. But I have to say, Pip and Jane Baker have taught me words I will never use in a million years, and certainly not in the combination they use them in. But I like their gleefulness with preposterous language. Again, I'm not sure I think it's any good, because it is a bit like that bloke that you know lives with his mum, and I better not. I better be careful because I might be describing people but people who use language that is slightly more flamboyant than their personality can back up, and it's always got an odd juxtaposition. I like the brain, and Peter Tuddenham and Jackie Webb, but Peter Tuddenham particularly doing the voice because he obviously Blake Seven, so you go, yeah, he's good, they got the voice man. The music's really going hell for leather now. It's got the feeling of, yeah, this is really building to a climax. It's going, yeah, this is the hors d'oeuvre is hitting the, or whatever, however Pip and Jane might put it. The hors d'oeuvre is hitting the ventilator, liking the red lighting. But I love the brain. I think a giant brain is a terrific image. But there is also something glorious about a vampire 80s woman talking to a big pink brain, whilst Bonnie Langford screams whilst being manhandled by a walking bat. I've dedicated my life to this programme. Oh dear God. I've just suddenly had a realisation that life has been entirely pointless. And the amount of anguish that it's caused me, with people misrepresenting it, or people who love it saying something wrong about it in a magazine, or simply somebody having a different opinion to it from me. And but how can I deal with such injustice and or incorrectness, and it's this very silly programme. So, Alistair Mitchell, OB cameraman. I thought he only worked on Warriors of the Deep. I think Alistair Mitchell, here's one for you. Alistair Mitchell is the father of the woman who wrote 50 Shades of Grey. So not only have we got a Vanquish 80s woman talking to a giant brain, we've got the man who spawned the sexy book. So somehow infused in the DNA of 50 Shades of Grey is a little bit of Tony Rani. Because, you know, we're all a sum of our experiences and influences. What do I like about episode 3? I love the way it built to a climax at the end there. But I think it's got to be the big brain. I love the big brain. It's kicked it up a gear. I don't really know what it means or where it's from or whose brain it is. Because presumably a brain used to have to be inside a thing, but I sort of think that with the face of Bo as well. What happened to the rest of him? He wasn't born as a head. Well, he might be Captain Jack. Who knows? But, you know, how does he breathe? Where are his lungs? If he was only a head, how does he... Anyway, but the brain is a striking image. I like the brains of Morphoton in Keys Mariners too. So, is it the brain, or am I going to say Kev McCulloch's music? Because I think that has had some splendid moments. I did choose that for Battlefield, which is slightly cheating. And I chose Don McLean's music for Battlefield. And I do think Don McLean's music is much, much better than Kev McCulloch's music. And yet I have an enjoyment of Kev McCulloch's, you know, in the enthusiastic racket that fills the stories is a key element to my memories of it, and has had a bit of a bad press, and actually I find myself finding it key ingredients of these age stories. Again, I think compensating for the fact that you know, you have half a dozen actors in a plywood set or in a quarry augmented with space tinsel. and it's videotape, and you need to somehow have something in the soundtrack to give it the sort of epic quality that sometimes the resources otherwise cannot convey. But could Kev McCulloch's music be the overall thing that I do? What's Anthony going to choose as well? I mean, he will probably choose Kate O'Mara's hair. I mean, they will probably choose Kate O'Mara's hair. See, that's part of what this game is. It's anticipating what your guest, what floats your guest's boat. I'm going to choose the brain. I'm going to choose the big sexy brain.
Merchandise, yay. Oh, there we are, on to part 3. Well, what can you say about part 3? A lot. There's a lot of running around. It's you know, it is a typical part 3, run from here to there to everywhere. That's, you know, that's not a problem. That's fun. We get some additional characters, we get some nasty bits, we get a lot of Kate with her hands on her hips, which is just fantastic. We get a nice bit of Wonder Anthem swooping about. That's great as well. But I think here you also have to mention the effects. How wonderful are the effects? Oh my gosh. The bubble effects, obviously, the strange matter asteroid and the rocket that launches later in the story towards it, the liftoff, and the Citadel itself is just fantastic. So it all goes to help to alleviate it from and elevate it from just being in a quarry, which it so obviously is. But there's one thing in this episode I felt was really, really special. And again, I'm going to fall back on guest cast. But I mean, I'm not really a huge Blake Seven fan. I kind of missed it the first time round when it was on. But I knew a lot about it because of the crossovers with Who. But it just thrilled me and still does that we have lending his voice, the great and unfortunately late Peter Tuddenham, who, of course, was Aurak and Zen and Slave in Blake Seven very famously. And it's just so wonderful to have him here lending his voice. So my highlight for part 3 is the inclusion of Peter Tuddenham.
That's odd because I'm so conscious of, because I always go, I would always choose the guest cast, largely because of Kuga. And I've got a fact about them. What's the fact? They were once in a production of An Ideal Husband in Salisbury. That's not really a fact so much as part of the CV. Well, it makes me interested. It doesn't make you interesting, Toby. I tried to think it makes me interested. This is why you will never be truly happy. And yet I haven't chosen the guest cast from this because I think I try and limit the amount of times that I do. Typically, Anthony has done it twice. I did mention Peter Tuddenham and mispronounce his name. Why did I say Tuddenham? I don't know why. I think a friend of mine once pronounced it like that and it sort of stuck. But of course, I think his son Luke Tuddenham does the news on one of the BBC radio channels, so I know how it's pronounced. It's funny how you can know something and still do something wrong, which is why one should never have a go at somebody for a typo, because they probably know it's wrong if they've noticed it. Anyway, I'm talking rubbish now. What do you mean now, Toby? It's been 25 minutes. Right. So I'm totally losing this. Let's see if Anthony can whitewash me 2 facts when it comes to episode 4. But that's the end of episode 3. Will we be able to see it through to the end and get our hands on the Loy Hargill, which, for those of you who don't know, is an anagram of Holy Grail. That's the sort of thing Pip and Jane Baker did. And I'm sure it whiled away the hours in Ruislip where they lived in a most entertaining way. God bless them. My name is Toby. Thank you for listening and or watching to episode 3 of Time in the Rani. I'll be back with episode 4 shortly. Please do stick around right to the end to listen out for details of the GoFundMe for Anthony, who is the reason I am doing this, and have rushed forward this particular commentary because Anthony finds themselves in the position of needing a bit of Loy Hargill of their own. By that I mean just some financial assistance, of which Anthony has not asked for, but we have diverse of us have come together in order to try. Have you given some money? Yes, I have as well. I'm not just. That's the other thing. Do you remember the ice bucket challenge? People say, "I've got in a bucket of ice." Have you given any money yourself? I'm off the telly and I've got in a bucket of ice. You give the money. So I'm not just asking. I have donated myself, but now I'm trying to do extra, like the hero that I am, by watching some television and not shutting them up. Okay, I'm now going to do the second bit of that. God, bye!